بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونستعينه ونتوكل عليه إنه خير ناصر ومعين ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وأشرف أنبيائه ورسله أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وأصحابه الخيرة المنتجبين. The topic of our discussion is the role that the Jews played at the early stage of Islam and the introducing the actual killers of Imam Hussein alayhi alafu tahiyyati was sana. Well, after the defeat in the war of Badr, the head of the Jews came to the pagans and talked to them that we are ready to help you. By all means, we are even ready to be with you in physical war. They said, we are going to, get 1,000 people, and you can bring maybe 3,000, and we can make a lot of strengths, and we can go and fight with the Prophet in Medina and end this whole prophethood and the mission that the Prophet has started. So the next day they have prepared 3,000 soldiers. Most of the money came from the Jews, because you must also remember that at that time the Jews were the one who was producing the swords. They were the one who were producing the other ammunition. The best technologies were actually in that time controlled and also was produced by the Jews. The best horse trainers, they were there. The best storytellers, they were there. And they were in the business of jewelry, so they can make a lot of money. And the money was lying with the Jews. They were the one who was lending money to the other people. As always, they have been in the business of lending money and taking riba. So here also, after the issue of the defeat in Badr, they have now managed to sponsor for the pagans to get 4,000 or 3,000 soldiers to come toward Medina. Prophet was informed that they are coming. So Prophet started arranging to fight. And here there was the opinion of the Prophet that let them come inside Medina and we are going to fight them inside our territory. They are going to come inside Medina. We are going to be hiding in our houses. We know the streets more than them, better than them. And when they arrive, we will deal with them one by one. All of us, we will trap them and we will finish them. That was the plan of the Prophet. But our number is too little. When we go out of town, there are 3,000. Our numbers are going to be 300 or maybe 400 or 500. Compared to them, we are too little. So we will not be able actually to deal with them. So is it possible to do so? They actually has planned for this. Now the Prophet talked about this to the people, that this is my opinion. Now, the Jews had people infiltrated in the line of Muslimin. Some of these people are very famous in the early stage of Islam, and they played a very big role in those Islamic communities. They are carrying very heavy names. But they were actually, in other words, they were fighting in the camp of Jews and safeguarding the benefits of the Jews. And in the war of Uhud and the wars after that and the events after that, you can see the hands of the Jews and the cooperation between these few names and the camp of Jews. One of them is here. When the Prophet said that let us fight with them inside Medina, they actually said it's no, it's better to fight outside. So these arguments went here, and then the Prophet talked to them. It was not successful, so finally the Prophet has accepted, because majority of people thought it's better, not thought, was influenced by those few good names, that let us fight outside. So the Prophet, with this intention to go and prepare inside his house, he took two of those famous people with himself inside the house. So when he is prepared and came out, it took probably 1 hour or something. The people, at the absence of those two famous figures, they came to their senses that why we should argue with the Prophet. He is a prophet of God. He knows the best. Let him decide about this issue. Let him do whatever he is supposed to do. Well, let us not interfere with his decisions. Let him be the one who is going to decide about all of this matter. So that is what they did. They imposed to the Prophet the opinion that let us fight outside. So when they came out from the house, the opinion of people already changed. They came to the Prophet and said, so sorry, we had an argument concerning this. We changed our minds. Whatever you say, it's fine, but it was too late. The Prophet said, the reason they had this opinion, this argument with the Prophet, was that these two who accompanied the Prophet was between the people, and they were influencing people. The moment these two people went with the Prophet inside, and they were not between the people to influence them, they came to their senses, and they left all of that idea that we should fight with the Prophet and go against his decision. And the Prophet realized that people are influenced by these two people. So even if I now accept what the people say, these people are still around. They are going to go and influence them again. So we are going to go circle to the circle, and this is not the time for arguments at the moment. Let us go and fight outside. So the Prophet was determined also that let us go and fight outside Medina. They gone against the decision of the Prophet, and the fight happened outside Medina. Now this story went to Abu Sufyan. It seems that Abu Sufyan knew about this and gave the mission to those two people that you go there and you try to influence the people not to fight inside. Let us fight outside. So Abu Sufyan was thinking that the fight will be definitely inside. The definitely is going to be outside. But then when the Prophet decided for this, to have the war inside before the changing of the mind, when the Prophet had this decision, the news went back to Abu Sufyan that the Prophet He's not going to fight outside, he's going to fight inside. But they still continued their way to come. It seems that they were too much confident about that. No, those two people that I have infiltrated between the Muslimin, they are going to finally convince the Prophet and the mass for them not to fight inside. So we are in the safe side, let us continue. They continued with the Prophet to come there. And the actual fight happened outside of Medina, although the Prophet was in a very weak position because the numbers looked very little compared to the 3,000 of the pagans, which they had also munitions, they had swords, they had a lot of horses. Some of them, they were riding horses, and the number of the horses of the Prophet were very little. The number of the swords was little. But finally the war started. When the war started, and it was about to be victorious, again another plot happened, which was again those two were involved. There was a rumor that the Prophet died. The Prophet was killed. This was about before the victory which was going to be achieved. This rumor was all around to that extent that even Abu Sufyan believed it. He asked one of the Muslimin, is it true that the Prophet is dead? And he said, no, he is safe. Even some of the Muslimin were believing that that happened. But these rumors were all over that the Prophet is dead. Now, later on, they related this lie to Shaitan. They say it was Shaitan who came and who created this rumor. In actual fact, yes, it was Shaitan, but not Shaitan Jinni. It was an insan Shaitan who has created this chaos by saying that the Prophet is dead. However, the Prophet fought, and this story which I'm talking in detail has come in the history of Ibn Abil Hadid, volume 14, page 225, which has gone through the details of this story, that who was the one who has created the rumors and how this rumor was spreaded and what was the reason behind this rumor. And this was, okay, whatever it happened, but this rumor was just a rumor, and then soon they realized that no Prophet is alive and they have to fight. And the fight started. When the fight started in the war of Uhud, well, it was the bravery of Imam Ali alayhi salam. The heads of the kuffar were removed, they were eliminated, they have been killed by the hand of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And in this manner, alhamdulillah, the war was victorious. And in this time that the war was about to be victorious, the Prophet, before the starting of the war, there was a strait which was seen, it was behind the army of the Prophet. Prophet left some people in that strait. Keep this strait. We victorious or we are not. Don't leave this place. They were waiting and they were watching from that strait, that what is happening in the field. When they realized that the army of the Prophet is victorious, they become greedy. That how the people in the ground can share all of the bounties of the war and we are not. So they left the strait and they came to share the bounty of the war. When the pagans looked at the strait, there was no person there. Then Abu Sufyan has asked some of his companions to go behind the mountains and come from that strait, and they attacked to the Prophet and his army, and a one war transferred to be a lost war. In this way, Unfortunately, the war of Uhud was a defeat, and but it was not like a total defeat, but it was somehow some problematic, which was the only war that you can say that it led to the defeat of Prophet because of the facts that I told you about it. So here is also now in this war, although the Jews came and promised the mushrikeen that we are going to support you, but when it was come to the actual fact, they left the mushrikeen alone, and they gave some money, but physically they didn't enter into the war, which was a big disappointment with mushrikeen from the Jews that they didn't. The Jews have been always breaking their promises to their friends and to their enemies. Whenever they have signed any deal, they always don't fulfill those deals or the treaties. So we're going to the next phase of the confrontation between the Jews of the Prophet. We reach to the Bani Qaynuqa fitna, which was in Medina. After the Badr defeat and after the war of Uhud, so Prophet has signed a treaty with Bani Qaynuqa that under any condition they should not rebel, they should not be rebellious to the Prophet, and they should always remain at least silent, or they should remain, how I can say, neutral. But the Bani Qaynuqa realized that the Prophet is in a very weak condition after the war of Uhud, so let us do something while the Prophet is in a weak condition. And they have started a type of rebellious movement. So they started fighting with the Prophet, and the Prophet realized that they have broken the treaty which he had. So Prophet surrounded them about 15 days. And after the 15 days, he has managed to arrest all of the people in the Bani Qaynuqa castle, and he wanted to kill them. But then there is a lot of people who came there and asked the Prophet to save their life, which most of them was again these people which were infiltrated by the Jews in the line of Muslimin. So Prophet finally, Waqidi says in his history, volume 1, page 180, that the Prophet didn't kill them, but asked them to leave Medina, and they left Medina to they joined the other tribes that the Jews had around. As I told you, they had 7 what you call strongholds before reaching to Baytul Muqaddas. The second fitna and the second rebellious movement came from Bani Nazir, which was another Jewish tribe. So this is also happening after the Uhud defeat. So again, the Bani Nazir also realized that this is time for us to break the treaty. And again, the Prophet fought. And again, the Prophet has been forced to accept to leave them go to another castles, and they did. Some of the hypocrites of the Medina were very upset with the Prophet with the way that he dealt with Bani Nazir, because they had a lot of communication, a lot of business, how I can say, business relationship with this Bani Nazir. And then it is the time to talk about the war of Khandaq. War of Khandaq is a very interesting war that we have to speak about them. Bani Qurayza send a delegation to Mecca. They have negotiation with Abu Sufyan, which he lost his father in the war of Uhud. and he was feeling that he has to take the revenge of the prophet of his father. And well, there was a defeat in war of Uhud. So these Jewish delegations spoke to Abu Sufyan, let us now raise again, let us wage again another army and let us fight, because this prophet is here, he's going to stay if you don't do anything. So go, and they have promised again that we are going to help you. But they say to him that this time let us have a proper arrangement. The Jews said to Abu Sufyan that we are going to be inside Medina. You come out of Medina. When you arrive there, you from outside, we from inside, we put the Prophet into a surrounding position, and we surround him, and we are going to defeat him. We from inside will raise, and you are from outside, and we are going to deal with him in that condition. 10,000 soldiers were gathered by Abu Sufyan. The news came to the Prophet that 10,000 people are out of the skirts of Medina. Here, again, the Prophet, as always he did, he gathered people to ask them about this Khandaq story. Salman was there. As you know, Salman was an Iranian friend of of the Prophet, and he suggested that let us create a type of hole for them not to be able to pass. And in that hole, let us have water. That is what they did. Before the arrival of the 10,000 people, they faced a type of barrier which was full of water. It was not possible for a horse to pass. So that was the barrier between the Prophet and them. So Prophet in that time had only 3,000 soldiers. When this mushrikeen has arrived, so the Bani Qurayza were very happy, and they have started also their movements inside Medina. Now, here, there was this communication between the pagans and also the Jews. In this war, the story of, the famous story of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam defeating Amr ibn Abdawat happens. But before me talking about that, maybe I won't have time to speak about this particular issue today, because maybe the time will not allow, but I will maybe just explain about the other aspects of this war, and then tomorrow I'm going to talk about Imam Ali alayhi salam's action, which was very important. So there was Qahtan and Bani Qurayza and Abu Sufyan, they were discussing about this issue. There is a person who played a great role in this part. Amazing, just one person can do such a great job. His name is Na'im bin Mas'ud Ashja'i. This man was under influence of the Prophet. He was converted to Islam, but he never said to the Prophet. He came and he approached the Prophet in the middle of the night. And he said to the Prophet that I have converted to Islam. I love you and I want to do something. I have good relationship with the Jews. I have good relationship with the pagans. And see how you can use me for the sake of Islam. The Prophet asked him, if you're really telling the truth, do something for these two to be separated, for the unity of the Jews and the pagans to be broke. Can you do something about this? Amazingly, Naim came with a plan. So Naim had a friendship between the Jews and friendship with the Abu Sufyan. First, he approached the Jews and said to the Jews that, listen, you are not learning from your mistakes. This prophet is not what you think. He is helped by God. Every single effort that you had against this prophet was a defeat. Right or wrong? They said, yes, true. He defeated you in Badr, he defeated you in Uhud, he defeated the other, what you call, Bani Qaynuqa, Bani Nazir. And now, you guys want to fight with him, you break the treaty with him, you will be slaughtered one by one. That's what I can see. If you want to be saved, I'll show you a trick, do this, then your life will be saved. If you want really to be, and also he said to them that these pagans, you think they will look after you, they will consider you. They won't. They're looking after their own interest. So he said to them, I will show you a trick, do this if you want to remain alone. Send a message to Abu Sufyan. Tell to the Abu Sufyan that, yes, I have a treaty with you that I should fight from inside, you should fight from outside. But we are not sure about you leaving us alone here or you really want to help us. For us to be sure that you are going to support us, send 10 of your important people to stay with us, to be with us, to fight with us. Instead of them fighting from your camp, they should come and fight from our camp. Then we are 100% with you. We will come with our full capacity, fight until we defeat the Prophet. Because if I have 10 people from you between us, then I am safe. You are not going to leave us alone. If you are not going to save us for us, you are going to save us for the sake of those 10 important figures that you have given us. The Jews were very happy with the idea. Brilliant idea. Yes, this is a good idea. We will ask Abu Sufyan to do so. From the Jews, when he got the opinion of the Jews and told them what to do, he went to the Abu Sufyan. I said, you know I am your friend. You know I know Prophet, I know the Jews, I know everyone. These Jews inside, they are terrified from what is happening. They saw that the Prophet defeated you in Badr, defeated you in Uhud, defeated Bani Qurayza, they defeated Bani Qaynuqa, Bani Nazir. They are now learning their lessons. They suppose they have got a treaty with the Prophet. They have been to the Prophet, told to the Prophet that, look, we are not going to break our promise with you. We are going to stay with our treaty. And if you don't believe, we are going to get some of the head of the Quraysh as a captive here, and we will deliver them to you for you to believe what I am doing. This is what is happening, my brother Abu Sufyan. You don't trust me? Ask them. Talk to them that we are starting the fight tomorrow. Let us see what they are asking. You will wait for them. So Abu Sufyan said, yeah, it's a great idea. Maybe you're right. Maybe they are going to be with the, they are not ready to break their treaty with the Prophet. Let me test them. So Abu Sufyan sent a message to the Jews. They said, tomorrow morning we are going to start the fighting, so be prepared to see what's going to be the answer. The answer came, no problem, we are ready to be with you, but only one condition. Send 10 of your famous figures, whoever you want to choose, for these 10 people to be with us, remaining with us, fighting with us. Then you starting from outside, we starting from inside. No problem. the person came back to Abu Sufyan, saying to him that this is the demand of the Jews inside Medina. Immediately Abu Sufyan said, hey, he was right. He's going to take my 10 people and give these 10 people to the Prophet, and they are going to leave us alone again. And they have the history. When it comes to Badr, to the Uhud, they promised, but they didn't fulfill. How I can trust them again? So Abu Sufyan lost his trust with the Jews, and in this way, he didn't send the 10 people to the Bani Qurayza, so the difference came between the two. So the camp of Bani Abu Sufyan and the Yahudis and the Jews were break apart. No more coalition between the two. So now the Prophet is only should concentrate with the pagans and how he dealt with them. Inshallah, tomorrow I'm going to speak about that fact. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.